Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We hit 300 subscribers. Before I start this video, I want to thank every single one of you guys for subscribing, liking up, and watching my YouTube videos. I greatly appreciate it, honestly. And I plan to continue uploading. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into Coding Vlog episode 4. And before we get started, if I see one comment about these glasses being too small for my head, I don't want to hear it. Anyway, I've made great progress since our last episode. Well, maybe not that much progress, but when it comes to the JavaScript, I got some working functions and I'm excited to show you guys. Let's just go ahead and jump into it, man. So far, let's first start with where we left off last episode. Last episode, the biggest problem that we was having is that we couldn't take whatever added here, right? We couldn't take whatever we wanted to put in here, and when we hit add, it would just disappear and it wouldn't go here, right? So there's multiple reasons why, and I figured it out. But first, let's go over some of the problems that I made the last episode in my coding. So the first major problem we made last episode is that we didn't have an array to store our data in or to store our ideas in, which is stupid, Omar. Of course, the idea wouldn't save if you don't have something to store it in, brother. That's what we did last episode. That's what I did off camera. What I did off camera was I created an array called idea, right? And then I use the useState function to make it reactive to be able to put new ideas in it. And also, what we might be working on this episode is to remove ideas from it. The set idea is just how we, use the useState function. But I created an array, and in the beginning, it's just some simple ideas. Just put whatever in there, be proactive, begin with the end in mind. And Omar. The first two are just based off of a book that I'm reading called 7 Habits to Highly Effective People. Really great, would recommend, 10 out of 10. So after that, right, I believe we created this function last episode, but I didn't understand what this function was, honestly, because I was just copying and pasting from the other guy's thing. But now I kind of understood what these functions were. So the function, right, in this function, what it's basically saying is we're passing through a parameter called new idea. And I like to view parameters as placeholders, right? That they can just they're just placeholders for something else that's going to be added in the future, right? So what we did in this function, when this function gets called, right, we were going to declare a new variable called new idea list. And then we're going to use the spread operator, right, to just basically spread out the ideas that are in our idea array, which is right here. And then we want to /add a new idea. And then we want to set idea, which is this idea array, right, which is these things right here, to equal or to be changed, and change the DOM as well too, to a new list, a new idea list, which should just basically be these 3 ideas plus whatever idea the user inputted to get added into it. I hope that kind of made sense a little bit. So then the next thing that I had to do was I had to pass through the function handle idea. Now my problem was I was passing it through the card. Here's the thing, the card component, Omar, the card component was simply made just for the card, the idea card, which means the card component was just simply made for this thing right here, this whole circular thing that I had the idea in. That's what the card component was for. The only thing I'll be using the card component for is to reuse it. And I'll show you how I did that later, but reuse it with every idea. I would want it to just give me the same style. The card component was just basically a bunch of CSS that I didn't understand when I was first doing the project, but now I do understand. So I have to add it through idea search, right? My input search, which is right here. That's where I added the function in, and I also added the function in my header. I'm gonna show you something pretty cool. So now in the add search component, right, I put through some props, right? So I basically wanted to teleport some props from the app component to the add search component. And I just basically deconstructed the function handle add idea. That's the only thing that I dragged from the app component. And then I created a new variable, right? Idea value. Now, idea value and set idea value is also a reactional function, almost. Not almost, it is a reactional function, but this is just solely for my inputs. So what this means is right here, this input right here, right? I have placeholder, search the existing one, right? And then I need a value, right? So I need whatever they input here to store as a value. So here's where it has it, value, idea value, right? So whatever's in here, which for now is the, which means that the is the current value for this input. It's the idea value, right? So the is the idea value currently. If this changes to Omar, then Omar would be the idea value. Now, this is something I'm still learning about, but just basically on change, set the idea value or just reactively change the idea value to whatever it is. I still don't know what this is, this whole function is yet. It's just kind of something that I saw from a tutorial that I kind of figured out that I needed in it as well. So I'm going to kind of, do some research on that and see how it is. But yeah, right? So now when I hit the add button, right, I want an on click function to happen, right? So when I hit the add button on click, I want a function to be called. And that function is the function that we teleported from app.js and destructed into the variable props right here, right? We kind of pulled through app.js, right? Handle add idea. And then I just wanted to add whatever the idea value is, right? So whatever's in here is the idea value. And that's what I want you to add to my value or my idea array. So now check it out. Hold on, let me do something different because Omar's here. Let's say hello YouTube. I hit add. It gets added, baby. And we figured it out, right? We figured it out. It gets added and it's working perfectly. So now, the next thing that we had to kind of figure out a little bit later was the whole, how do I repeat this bubble for every idea like it repeated here? And how we figure that out is we realize that that's what our idea list component is for, right? So through our idea list, right, component, we wanted to bring through some props, bring through some things from the, kind of wanted to teleport it from the app.js file or component. I teleported all of these, which I don't really need. I just teleported it there. So these codes are kind of useless for now. But the main one that I needed was idea. And here's why. I need the map method to continuously loop through every value or index that is inside of my idea array and continuously repeat the idea card for every single one of them. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but that's what we got going on here. We have the idea.map, right? So what it is basically is doing is it's just going through or is mapping through our idea array, I believe. And basically there's two things here. There's the idea and then its unique index. What I basically have here is, so it doesn't repeat, have just the index for it. I don't really know if I need this or not. But the biggest thing that I realized was just calling the idea card component and then setting the property of idea equal to idea. So whatever the idea is in the idea array, a lot of ideas, I know, whatever the idea is in the idea array, it just basically gets printed out on this paper or on this sheet, but it also gets printed out with the idea card components. So if I change anything in the idea card components, if I say I wanted to make this color black, it will not only change the color for this idea, but for all of my ideas as well. Whew, a lot of talking, I know. You see here, we just have the unique idea in whatever idea array, just right there in the paragraph. That's how these are showing up right here. A lot of talking, I know. last thing I wanted to show you guys was the special, come on. I did this all myself and I'm really proud because I didn't have to look up no YouTube tutorial, nothing. I just did it off of the knowledge that I was getting from fixing some of my problems and also from some of the CS designing that I spent 90 minutes on. You guys remember? Yep, 90 minutes on. So first things first, look at it, the new and improved design. Oh, it looks good, right? We have the input field, which is a lot bigger. And now we have 2 buttons. Now I'm gonna get to explaining this in a second. This video is gonna be very long, but the first button is just basically, what's the idea, Omar? So if I say the idea is to, I don't know, focus on spending your time on quadrant 2, right? Something I got from the book. Now, if I hit add, look what it does. It not only adds it, but the input disappears as well too. And then if I hit the X button, all right, let's say for example, I clicked it on accident and I don't need it. One thing that I noticed, if I just hit add on a blank thing, it'll just add a blank 1. So I was like, okay, no, I can't do that because what if I click on it and like, I don't have an idea to add? Well, then I can just hit the X button, which just closes and disappears the pop-up. And then here's a cool thing too. Let's say I type something here, but I realize, I don't want to add it. Instead of adding it, I just hit the X button. And guess what? Do you think it stays there or it disappears? It disappears. Now, what did I do in my code for that? So let's get into it, right? So we have a lot of code here. I don't even know what I'm looking at, honestly. Anyway, so we have, we pass through the function handle add idea. We pass through the add value too for the input field, right? All of that. We have 2 functions in here as well. We have the function open, which is basically when I click this header right here, this input field comes here. And then we have the function close, which is basically says whenever this function close is called, which it is actually tied to this button. So on click, the function close runs. It just simply closes that right there. That's how the close button works. And then the add button works very similar. It's another on click. I'm sorry, man, you guys can't see that. Oh, oops, whoopsies, whoops. All right, there we go. So basically, when it comes to adding for the input field, when I click on it and I hit add, it's just this function right here. It's just another on click function that just calls the handle idea, and it just takes whatever the value is in the input and adds it into the array. So now that long explanation video is done, let's go ahead and get into some coding. Omar, run the time lapse.